Are you tired of watching your blood sugar numbers climb higher and higher, despite trying every diet and medication your doctor has prescribed? Have you been told that diabetes is just something you'll have to live with for the rest of your life? What if I told you that there's a vegetable hidden in plain sight that has been called nature's insulin by researchers around the world? A vegetable so powerful that it can dramatically reduce your blood sugar levels in just hours after consumption, and when used consistently, can help you take control of your glucose levels once and for all. I'm about to reveal something that the pharmaceutical industry doesn't want you to know. Something that has been used for over 2,000 years in traditional medicine, but has been largely ignored by Western healthcare. This isn't some exotic superfood that costs hundreds of dollars. This isn't a miracle cure that sounds too good to be true. This is a scientifically backed, research-proven vegetable that you can find at your local farmer's market, and it's about to change everything you think you know about managing blood sugar naturally. My name is Dr. Sarah Mitchell, and I've spent the last 15 years as an endocrinologist, helping thousands of patients manage their diabetes and prediabetes. I've seen the frustration in their eyes when conventional treatments fall short. I've witnessed the side effects of medications that sometimes seem worse than the condition itself. But I've also seen the incredible transformation that happens when people discover the power of this remarkable vegetable. Just last month, I had a patient named Robert, a 72-year-old grandfather who came to me with a hemoglobin A1C of 8.5, despite being on 3 different diabetes medications. His morning glucose readings were consistently over 200, and he was experiencing all the classic symptoms: extreme fatigue, frequent urination, blurred vision, and slow healing wounds. His previous doctor had told him that insulin injections were inevitable. But instead of immediately adding more medications, I introduced Robert to this powerful vegetable. Within just 2 weeks of incorporating it into his daily routine, his morning glucose readings dropped to an average of 130. By the end of the first month, his energy levels had returned, his vision cleared, and for the first time in years, he felt like himself again. Today, 6 months later, Robert's A1C is down to 6.8, and we've been able to reduce 2 of his 3 medications. Robert's story isn't unique. I've seen similar transformations in hundreds of patients. But here's what concerns me. Despite the overwhelming scientific evidence supporting this vegetable's effectiveness, most doctors either don't know about it or dismiss it because it can't be patented and sold for huge profits. Today, I'm going to share everything I know about this incredible vegetable. I'm going to explain exactly why it works, how it mimics the action of insulin in your body, and most importantly, I'm going to give you a complete 14-day protocol that you can start using today to see dramatic improvements in your blood sugar levels. But before we dive in, I need to make something crystal clear. I am not suggesting that you stop taking your prescribed medications. What I'm sharing with you today is meant to work alongside your current treatment plan, not replace it. If you're currently taking diabetes medications, especially insulin or sulfonylureas, you'll need to monitor your blood sugar more frequently as you implement these strategies because this vegetable is so effective that it can cause your blood sugar to drop too low if you're not careful. This presentation is specifically designed for adults over 50 who are dealing with prediabetes, type 2 diabetes, or insulin resistance. If you're pregnant, nursing, or have any serious medical conditions, please consult with your healthcare provider before making any dietary changes. What I'm about to share with you is powerful, and like any powerful tool, it needs to be used responsibly and with proper monitoring. Now, let me ask you something. How many times have you been told that managing diabetes is just about eating less sugar and getting more exercise? How many times have you heard that once you have diabetes, you'll never be able to eat the foods you love again. How many times have you been made to feel like your condition is somehow your fault, that you should have taken better care of yourself? The truth is, type 2 diabetes and insulin resistance are complex metabolic conditions influenced by genetics, hormones, stress, sleep patterns, inflammation, and yes, diet and exercise. But here's what most people don't understand. The key to managing blood sugar isn't just about what you avoid eating, it's about strategically incorporating specific foods that can help your body process glucose more effectively. And that's where this remarkable vegetable comes in. The vegetable I'm about to reveal to you has been shown in multiple clinical studies to reduce post-meal blood sugar spikes by up to 40%. It contains natural compounds that can increase your cell's sensitivity to insulin, help your muscles absorb glucose more efficiently, and even slow down the absorption of carbohydrates in your intestines. But before I tell you what this vegetable is, let me share the story of how I discovered its incredible power. It was actually one of my patients who first introduced me to it. Maria was a 68-year-old woman from the Philippines who had been struggling with diabetes for over 10 years. Despite being on multiple medications, her blood sugar was still poorly controlled, and she was experiencing frequent episodes of dangerously high glucose levels. During one of our appointments, Maria mentioned that her grandmother back in the Philippines had never had diabetes, despite living to be 96 years old. She told me that her grandmother ate something every day that she called the bitter medicine. Maria had started incorporating this food into her diet based on her grandmother's advice, and she wanted to know if it was safe to continue eating it alongside her medications. I'll be honest, my initial reaction was skeptical. I had been trained to rely on pharmaceutical interventions, and the idea that a simple vegetable could have a significant impact on blood sugar seemed too good to be true. But Maria's glucose logs were showing improvements that I couldn't ignore. Her morning readings had dropped from an average of 190 to 140, and her post-meal spikes were significantly reduced. This sparked my curiosity, and I began researching this vegetable extensively. What I discovered absolutely amazed me. Not only were there dozens of published studies demonstrating its effectiveness, but the mechanism by which it works is actually quite well understood from a biochemical perspective. The vegetable Maria's grandmother had been eating, and the one I'm about to reveal to you, is called bitter melon, also known as bitter gourd or scientifically as Mamordica carrantia. In different parts of the world, it goes by various names: Karela in Hindi, Fugua in Chinese, Ampalaya in Filipino, and Malayotasakatano in Portuguese. If you've never heard of it before, don't worry, you're not alone. Despite being one of the most researched vegetables for blood sugar control, bitter melon remains relatively unknown in Western countries. Bitter melon looks somewhat like a cucumber, but with a distinctly bumpy, warty exterior that ranges from light to dark green. It's typically about 6 to 10 inches long and has a unique, intensely bitter taste that can be quite off-putting at first. But here's the thing. That bitterness is exactly what makes it so powerful for blood sugar control. The bitter compounds in this vegetable, particularly one called charantin and another called polypeptide P, have been shown to have insulin-like effects in the body. Charantin is actually a mixture of natural steroids that can help lower blood glucose levels, while polypeptide P is a plant-based protein that mimics the action of human insulin, helping to move glucose from your bloodstream into your cells where it can be used for energy. But the benefits of bitter melon go far beyond just these two compounds. This remarkable vegetable also contains something called lysine, which has been shown to improve glucose tolerance, and several other bioactive compounds that work together to provide comprehensive blood sugar support. Now, let me explain exactly how bitter melon works in your body, because understanding this will help you appreciate just how powerful this vegetable really is. When you eat a meal containing carbohydrates, your body breaks down those carbs into glucose, which then enters your bloodstream. In a healthy person, the pancreas responds by releasing insulin, which acts like a key, unlocking your cells so they can absorb and use that glucose for energy. But in people with type 2 diabetes or insulin resistance, this process becomes impaired. Either your pancreas isn't producing enough insulin, or your cells have become resistant to insulin's effects, or both. This results in glucose building up in your bloodstream, leading to high blood sugar levels and all the complications that come with them. Bitter melon addresses this problem through multiple mechanisms. First, the polypeptide P I mentioned earlier can actually substitute for some of your body's insulin function, helping to shuttle glucose into your cells even when your natural insulin response is impaired. This is why bitter melon is sometimes referred to as plant insulin. Second, bitter melon contains compounds that can increase your cell's sensitivity to insulin. This means that whatever insulin your body is producing becomes more effective at doing its job. It's like turning up the volume on a radio signal that was too quiet to hear clearly. Third, bitter melon can slow down the absorption of glucose in your intestines, which helps prevent those dangerous post-meal blood sugar spikes that can reach over 200 milligrams per deciliter. Instead of having all the glucose from your meal flood into your bloodstream at once, it's released more gradually, giving your body's natural regulatory mechanisms a better chance to keep up. Fourth, bitter melon has been shown to increase glucose uptake in skeletal muscle tissue. Your muscles are like storage tanks for glucose, and when they're better at absorbing and storing glucose, less of it remains circulating in your bloodstream. Finally, some research suggests that bitter melon may even help protect and regenerate the beta cells in your pancreas, the cells responsible for producing insulin. While this research is still in the early stages, the implications could be profound for people with type 2 diabetes. Now, I know what you might be thinking. If bitter melon is so effective, why isn't every doctor prescribing it? Why isn't it widely known and used? The answer, unfortunately, comes down to economics and the way our healthcare system is structured. Pharmaceutical companies invest billions of dollars in developing, testing, and marketing new diabetes medications because they can patent these drugs and charge premium prices for them. A single month's supply of some newer diabetes medications can cost over $500. But you can't patent a vegetable that's been growing naturally for thousands of years. There's simply no financial incentive for large-scale promotion of bitter melon, despite its proven effectiveness. Additionally, many doctors receive their continuing education about diabetes management primarily from pharmaceutical companies, which naturally focus on their own products rather than natural alternatives. It's not that doctors don't want to help their patients, it's that the system doesn't adequately expose them to natural treatment options. But the research on bitter melon is extensive and compelling. A study published in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology found that bitter melon extract was able to reduce blood glucose levels by up to 25% in people with type 2 diabetes. Another study in the Journal of Nutritional Biochemistry showed that bitter melon improved insulin sensitivity and reduced hemoglobin A1C levels significantly over a 3-month period. Perhaps most impressively, a randomized controlled trial published in the Journal of Clinical Medicine found that people who consumed bitter melon daily for 12 weeks experienced an average reduction in fasting blood glucose of 32 milligrams per deciliter, which is comparable to the effects of some prescription diabetes medications. But here's what I find most exciting about bitter melon. Unlike pharmaceutical medications, which often come with significant side effects like weight gain, digestive issues, or increased risk of hypoglycemia, bitter melon is generally well tolerated and can actually provide additional health benefits beyond blood sugar control. For example, bitter melon is rich in antioxidants, which can help reduce the chronic inflammation that contributes to insulin resistance. It's also high in fiber, which supports healthy digestion and can help with weight management. Some studies have even suggested that bitter melon may have anti-cancer properties and can support liver health. Now, let me address something important. I mentioned earlier that bitter melon is intensely bitter, and I won't lie to you, this can be a challenge for many people, especially those who aren't used to bitter flavors. The bitterness comes from the same compounds that make it so effective for blood sugar control, so we can't simply eliminate the bitter taste without reducing the therapeutic benefits. However, there are several techniques you can use to make bitter melon more palatable without destroying its beneficial properties. The most effective method is to slice the bitter melon thinly, salt it generously, and let it sit for about 30 minutes. This draws out some of the bitter juices. Then rinse the slices thoroughly and pat them dry before cooking. You can also blanch bitter melon briefly in boiling water before incorporating it into recipes. This reduces the bitterness somewhat while preserving most of the active compounds. Another approach is to combine bitter melon with strong flavored ingredients like garlic, ginger, onions, or spicy peppers, which can help mask the bitter taste. Some people find that they actually develop a taste for bitter melon over time, especially as they begin to associate its unique flavor with the positive effects they experience on their blood sugar levels. It's similar to how some people learn to appreciate the taste of dark chocolate or black coffee, initially challenging, but ultimately rewarding. If the taste is absolutely unbearable for you, there are standardized bitter melon extract supplements available, though I generally prefer whole food sources when possible because they provide the full spectrum of beneficial compounds in their natural ratios. Now, let me share with you exactly how to incorporate bitter melon into your diet for maximum blood sugar benefits. The most effective approach is to consume bitter melon with meals, particularly those that are higher in carbohydrates. This timing allows the bitter melon's glucose-regulating compounds to work when they're needed most. For fresh bitter melon, an effective dose appears to be about 1/2 to 1 cup of cooked bitter melon per meal, consumed 3 to 5 times per week. You don't need to eat it every single day to see benefits, which is good news for those who are still adjusting to the taste. The best time to consume bitter melon is about 15 to 30 minutes before your largest meal of the day, or the meal that typically causes your biggest blood sugar spike. For most people, this is either lunch or dinner. The idea is to give the bitter melon's active compounds time to prepare your body's glucose handling mechanisms before the incoming carbohydrates arrive. One of the most effective ways I've found to consume bitter melon is to sauté it with other vegetables and a source of healthy protein. The protein and fiber from the other vegetables work synergistically with bitter melon to further stabilize blood sugar levels. A simple stir-fry with bitter melon, bell peppers, onions, and either lean chicken, tofu, or eggs can be both delicious and incredibly effective for blood sugar control. Another popular preparation method is to stuff bitter melon with a mixture of ground meat or mushrooms, herbs, and spices. This not only makes it more palatable but also creates a complete, blood sugar-friendly meal that provides sustained energy without causing glucose spikes. For those who prefer liquid preparations, you can make a bitter melon tea by steeping thin slices of fresh bitter melon in hot water for about 10 minutes. Some people add a small amount of honey or stevia to make this more palatable, though be cautious with any added sweeteners if you're trying to control blood sugar. You can also juice bitter melon, though this concentrates the bitterness significantly. If you choose this method, start with small amounts, perhaps 1 to 2 ounces of bitter melon juice mixed with other vegetable juices like cucumber or celery. Never consume large amounts of bitter melon juice on an empty stomach, as it can cause gastrointestinal upset. Now, let me give you a comprehensive 14-day protocol for incorporating bitter melon into your routine safely and effectively. This protocol is designed to help you gradually introduce bitter melon while carefully monitoring its effects on your blood sugar levels. Days 1 through 3 are your introduction phase. During these days, you'll consume a small portion of bitter melon, about 1/4 cup of cooked bitter melon, with 1 meal per day. Choose the meal that typically causes your highest blood sugar spike. Before eating, measure your blood glucose level, then measure again 2 hours after finishing your meal. Record both numbers along with any symptoms or side effects you experience. This baseline will help you understand how your body responds to bitter melon. Days 4 through 7 comprise your adjustment phase. If you tolerated the smaller amount well and didn't experience any adverse effects, increase your portion to 1/2 cup of cooked bitter melon with 1 meal per day. Continue monitoring your blood glucose before and 2 hours after this meal. Also pay attention to how you feel, energy levels, mood, any gastrointestinal symptoms. Many people notice increased energy and reduced cravings during this phase as their blood sugar becomes more stable. Days 8 through 14 are your optimization phase. If you've been tolerating bitter melon well, you can now experiment with consuming it with 2 different meals per day, or try different preparation methods to find what works best for you. Continue your blood glucose monitoring, but also start paying attention to patterns. Are certain preparation methods more effective? Do you notice better results when you combine bitter melon with specific types of foods? Throughout this 14-day period, keep a simple log. Record the time of day, what meal you ate, how much bitter melon you consumed, your blood glucose readings before and after the meal, and any observations about how you feel. This information will be invaluable for optimizing your approach and will also be helpful information to share with your healthcare provider. Speaking of healthcare providers, this is a good time to emphasize the importance of medical supervision, especially if you're currently taking diabetes medications. Bitter melon can be so effective at lowering blood sugar that it can cause hypoglycemia if you're also taking insulin or medications like glyburide, glipizide, or other sulfonylureas. Your doctor may need to adjust your medication dosages as you incorporate bitter melon into your routine. The signs of hypoglycemia include shakiness, sweating, confusion, rapid heartbeat, dizziness, and intense hunger. If you experience any of these symptoms, check your blood sugar immediately and treat accordingly. Always have a fast-acting source of glucose available, such as glucose tablets or fruit juice. Also, be aware that bitter melon can interact with certain medications beyond just diabetes drugs. If you're taking blood thinners like warfarin, bitter melon may increase the effects of these medications. If you're taking medications for blood pressure, bitter melon's natural blood pressure lowering effects could potentially enhance these as well. Now, let me share some specific recipe ideas that can help make bitter melon more enjoyable while maximizing its blood sugar benefits. One of my favorite preparations is what I call the glucose taming stir-fry. You'll slice 1 medium bitter melon thinly, salt it, and let it sit for 30 minutes to reduce bitterness. While it's sitting, prepare your other ingredients. Slice 1 bell pepper, dice 1 medium onion, and mince 2 cloves of garlic. After rinsing and drying the bitter melon, heat a tablespoon of olive oil in a large pan or wok. Add the garlic and cook for 30 seconds until fragrant. Add the onion and cook for 2 to 3 minutes until it starts to soften. Add the bitter melon and bell pepper and stir-fry for about 5 to 7 minutes until the vegetables are tender crisp. Season with a tablespoon of low-sodium soy sauce, a pinch of red pepper flakes, and a squeeze of fresh lemon juice. This dish provides not only the blood sugar benefits of bitter melon but also the fiber from the other vegetables and the healthy fats from the olive oil, creating a synergistic effect that helps stabilize glucose levels even further. Another excellent preparation is bitter melon and egg scramble. This is particularly effective when consumed as part of breakfast, as the protein from the eggs helps set the stage for stable blood sugar throughout the day. Prepare the bitter melon as described above, then scramble it with 2 to 3 eggs, adding herbs like cilantro or parsley for additional flavor and nutrients. For those who prefer gentler flavors, try steaming bitter melon and serving it with a sauce made from tahini, lemon juice, and a small amount of honey. The creamy, nutty sauce helps counteract the bitterness while providing healthy fats that further support blood sugar stability. You can also incorporate bitter melon into soups and stews. Adding thin slices of bitter melon to a vegetable soup or chicken broth creates a warming, comforting dish that's perfect for cooler weather. The liquid helps dilute the bitterness somewhat while still providing the therapeutic benefits. Now, let's talk about who can benefit most from incorporating bitter melon into their diet. Obviously, people with prediabetes, type 2 diabetes, or insulin resistance are the primary candidates. But bitter melon can also be beneficial for people who experience significant blood sugar spikes after eating certain foods, even if they haven't been formally diagnosed with a glucose disorder. If you notice that you feel extremely tired after eating meals high in carbohydrates, if you experience intense cravings for sweet foods a few hours after eating, or if you have family history of diabetes and want to take preventive action, bitter melon could be an invaluable addition to your dietary arsenal. Older adults, in particular, may find bitter melon especially beneficial. As we age, our cells naturally become less sensitive to insulin, and our pancreas may produce less insulin overall. This makes blood sugar management more challenging and increases the risk of developing type 2 diabetes. Bitter melon's ability to increase insulin sensitivity and provide insulin-like effects can help counteract these age-related changes. However, there are certain people who should be more cautious about using bitter melon. Pregnant and nursing women should avoid it, as there isn't enough research to establish its safety during these periods. People with kidney disease should also be cautious, as bitter melon is high in potassium, which can be problematic for those with compromised kidney function. If you have a history of liver disease, consult with your healthcare provider before using bitter melon, as there have been rare reports of liver problems associated with bitter melon supplements, though this appears to be much less of a concern with whole food preparations. People who are scheduled for surgery should stop using bitter melon at least 2 weeks before their procedure, as it can affect blood sugar levels during and after surgery. Similarly, if you're planning to start an intense exercise program, be aware that the combination of increased physical activity and bitter melon's blood sugar lowering effects could potentially cause hypoglycemia. Now, I want to address some common myths and misconceptions about bitter melon and blood sugar management in general. One myth I hear frequently is that bitter melon is a miracle cure that can completely eliminate diabetes. This simply isn't true, and it's important to have realistic expectations. Bitter melon is a powerful tool for blood sugar management, but it works best as part of a comprehensive approach that includes appropriate medical care, a balanced diet, regular physical activity, adequate sleep, and stress management. Think of it as one very effective piece of a larger puzzle, not a magic solution that works in isolation. Another common misconception is that more is better when it comes to bitter melon consumption. Some people think that if a little bit helps their blood sugar, then eating large amounts will help even more. This is not only unnecessary but can actually be counterproductive and potentially dangerous. Consuming excessive amounts of bitter melon can cause gastrointestinal upset, including nausea, diarrhea, and abdominal pain. More importantly, it can cause your blood sugar to drop too low, especially if you're also taking diabetes medications. The goal is to find the minimum effective dose that helps stabilize your blood sugar levels, not to consume as much as possible. There's also a myth that bitter melon water or bitter melon juice consumed on an empty stomach first thing in the morning is the most effective approach. While some people do find this helpful, it's actually more effective to consume bitter melon with or before meals, when your body is preparing to process incoming glucose. Additionally, consuming bitter melon on an empty stomach increases the risk of gastrointestinal side effects. Some people believe that bitter melon supplements are just as effective as the whole vegetable, but this isn't necessarily true. Whole bitter melon contains a complex array of compounds that work together synergistically. While standardized extracts can be beneficial, especially for people who absolutely cannot tolerate the taste of whole bitter melon, the whole food is generally preferable when possible. There's also a misconception that bitter melon can replace diabetes medications entirely. While some people have been able to reduce their medication needs with their doctor's supervision after incorporating bitter melon into their routine, this should never be attempted without professional medical guidance. Diabetes medications serve important functions, and stopping them abruptly can be dangerous. Let me share another success story that illustrates the proper way to incorporate bitter melon into a comprehensive diabetes management plan. Patricia was a 64-year-old retired teacher who came to me with an A1C of 9.2 and morning glucose readings consistently over 250. She was on maximum doses of 2 different oral diabetes medications, but her blood sugar remained poorly controlled. Patricia was frustrated because she had been following her previous doctor's dietary recommendations faithfully, avoiding sugar, limiting carbohydrates, and eating small, frequent meals. But she was also experiencing side effects from her medications, including digestive upset and frequent episodes of low blood sugar that left her feeling shaky and confused. After reviewing her case, I suggested that we try a different approach. Instead of just focusing on what she couldn't eat, we would emphasize foods that could actively help her body manage glucose more effectively. I introduced her to bitter melon, along with other blood sugar stabilizing foods like cinnamon, chromium-rich foods, and high-fiber vegetables. Patricia was initially skeptical about the bitter melon, especially after her first taste of it. But she was motivated to try anything that might help her feel better, so she committed to following the 14-day protocol I outlined earlier. By day 5, Patricia noticed that her post-meal blood sugar spikes were less severe. Instead of reaching over 300 after dinner, her readings were staying below 250. By the end of the first week, she was experiencing fewer episodes of reactive hypoglycemia, and her energy levels were more stable throughout the day. After 2 weeks, Patricia's average morning glucose had dropped to 180, still higher than ideal, but the significant improvement. More importantly, she felt dramatically better. The brain fog that had been plaguing her for months had lifted. She was sleeping better, and she had more energy to enjoy activities with her grandchildren. Over the following months, as Patricia continued incorporating bitter melon into her routine and made other lifestyle adjustments, we were able to gradually reduce one of her medications under careful supervision. Her A1C dropped to 7.4 after 3 months, and to 6.9 after 6 months. Today, 18 months later, Patricia maintains an A1C around 6.5 with just 1 medication at a reduced dose, and she credits bitter melon as being a key component of her success. But just as importantly, She emphasizes that bitter melon worked for her because she used it as part of a comprehensive approach that also included regular walking, stress reduction techniques, and careful attention to meal timing and composition. This brings me to an important point about maximizing the effectiveness of bitter melon through lifestyle integration. While bitter melon can be effective on its own, its benefits are amplified when combined with other blood sugar stabilizing strategies. One of the most powerful combinations is bitter melon plus post-meal movement. Even a gentle 10 to 15-minute walk after eating can significantly improve glucose uptake by your muscles, and when combined with bitter melon's insulin-like effects, the results can be remarkable. You don't need to do intense exercise. Even light activity like walking around your neighborhood or doing household chores can make a difference. Another effective strategy is to combine bitter melon with meals that are rich in protein and healthy fats. This macronutrient combination helps slow the absorption of carbohydrates and provides sustained energy without causing glucose spikes. For example, having bitter melon stir-fried with chicken and vegetables, or incorporating it into an omelet with avocado, creates a meal that supports stable blood sugar for hours. The timing of your meals can also influence how effective bitter melon is for blood sugar control. Many people with diabetes or insulin resistance find that they have better glucose control when they eat their largest meal earlier in the day and have a lighter dinner. This works well with bitter melon consumption, as you can include it in your lunch and still have time to monitor its effects before bedtime. Sleep quality also plays a crucial role in blood sugar management and can influence how well bitter melon works for you. Poor sleep or insufficient sleep can increase insulin resistance and make blood sugar more difficult to control. Aim for 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep per night, and try to maintain consistent sleep and wake times. Chronic stress is another factor that can interfere with blood sugar control. When you're stressed, your body releases hormones like cortisol that can raise blood glucose levels and increase insulin resistance. Incorporating stress reduction techniques like meditation, deep breathing exercises, or gentle yoga can enhance the blood sugar benefits of bitter melon. Resistance training is particularly beneficial for people with blood sugar issues because muscle tissue is like a storage depot for glucose. The more muscle mass you have, and the more active that muscle tissue is, the better your body becomes at clearing glucose from your bloodstream. You don't need to become a bodybuilder. Even light resistance exercises using bands or light weights 2 to 3 times per week can make a significant difference. Hydration also plays a role in blood sugar management. Dehydration can cause blood sugar levels to rise, and it can also make you feel more fatigued and increase cravings for sugary foods. Aim to drink plenty of water throughout the day, and consider herbal teas like green tea or cinnamon tea, which may provide additional blood sugar benefits. Now, let me address the question of where to find bitter melon and what to look for when purchasing it. In many Western countries, bitter melon can be challenging to find in regular grocery stores, but it's commonly available in Asian markets, Indian grocery stores, and increasingly in health food stores and farmers markets. When selecting fresh bitter melon, look for fruits that are firm and bright green in color. Avoid bitter melons that are soft, yellowing, or have dark spots, as these are signs of overripeness. Smaller bitter melons tend to be less bitter than larger ones, which can be helpful when you're first starting to incorporate them into your diet. Fresh bitter melon should be stored in the refrigerator and used within a few days of purchase. You can also freeze prepared bitter melon for later use, though the texture will change somewhat after freezing. If you cannot find fresh bitter melon in your area, frozen bitter melon is sometimes available in Asian grocery stores. Dried bitter melon is another option that can be rehydrated and used in cooking, though the flavor and texture will be different from fresh. For those who absolutely cannot tolerate the taste of bitter melon or cannot find it locally, standardized bitter melon extract supplements are available. If you choose this route, look for supplements that are standardized to contain specific amounts of the active compounds like charantin and polypeptide P. However, start with a lower dose than recommended on the package and work up gradually, as supplements can be more concentrated than whole food preparations. Let me also mention some other vegetables that can complement bitter melon's blood sugar benefits. Okra, for example, contains soluble fiber that can help slow glucose absorption and has been shown in studies to help reduce blood sugar spikes. Jerusalem artichokes are rich in inulin, a type of fiber that feeds beneficial gut bacteria and may improve insulin sensitivity. Leafy greens like spinach, kale, and Swiss chard are excellent sources of magnesium, a mineral that plays a crucial role in glucose metabolism. Many people with diabetes are deficient in magnesium, and increasing intake of magnesium-rich foods can help improve insulin sensitivity. Cinnamon is another powerful ally in blood sugar management. Studies have shown that cinnamon can help lower fasting blood glucose levels and improve insulin sensitivity. You can easily incorporate cinnamon into your diet by sprinkling it on oatmeal, adding it to smoothies, or using it in cooking. Chromium-rich foods like broccoli, green beans, and whole grains can also support healthy blood sugar levels. Chromium helps insulin work more effectively, and deficiency in this mineral is common among people with diabetes. Apple cider vinegar consumed before meals has been shown to help reduce post-meal blood sugar spikes. The acetic acid in vinegar appears to slow the breakdown of carbohydrates and improve insulin sensitivity. Just be sure to dilute it in water to protect your tooth enamel and stomach lining. Now, let me share some important safety considerations and potential side effects that you should be aware of when using bitter melon. While bitter melon is generally safe for most people when consumed in food amounts, some individuals may experience side effects, particularly when first starting to use it. The most common side effects are gastrointestinal and include nausea, stomach upset, diarrhea, or abdominal pain. These effects are usually mild and tend to improve as your body adjusts to bitter melon. Starting with smaller amounts and gradually increasing your intake can help minimize these issues. Some people may experience headaches when first using bitter melon, particularly if they're also reducing their intake of refined carbohydrates at the same time. This is often temporary and may be related to changes in blood sugar patterns. Rarely, some people may be allergic to bitter melon. Signs of an allergic reaction include hives, itching, swelling of the face or throat, or difficulty breathing. If you experience any of these symptoms, stop using bitter melon immediately and seek medical attention. There have been isolated reports of more serious side effects with bitter melon, including liver problems and low blood sugar coma, but these appear to be extremely rare and are often associated with excessive consumption or use of concentrated extracts rather than whole food preparations. If you're taking any medications, it's important to be aware of potential interactions. Beyond the diabetes medications I mentioned earlier, bitter melon may interact with blood-thinning medications, blood pressure medications, and potentially some antibiotics. Always inform your healthcare provider about any natural remedies you're using. Bitter melon may also affect fertility, so men and women who are trying to conceive should use it with caution. Additionally, bitter melon has been traditionally used to induce menstruation and labor, so it should be avoided during pregnancy. People with G6PD deficiency, a genetic condition that affects red blood cells, should avoid bitter melon as it may trigger hemolysis in these individuals. Now, let me address some frequently asked questions about bitter melon use. One question I get often is whether bitter melon is safe for long-term use. Based on its traditional use in many cultures over thousands of years, and the available research, bitter melon appears to be safe for long-term consumption when used in reasonable amounts as part of a varied diet. However, I generally recommend taking occasional breaks from any concentrated natural remedy, including bitter melon. You might use it consistently for 3 to 6 months, then take a week or 2 break before resuming. This gives your body a chance to reset and helps prevent any potential cumulative effects. Another common question is whether bitter melon can be used by people with type 1 diabetes. While the research has focused primarily on type 2 diabetes, some people with type 1 diabetes have reported benefits from bitter melon, particularly in terms of improved insulin sensitivity and reduced insulin requirements. However, people with type 1 diabetes should be extremely cautious and work closely with their healthcare provider, as the risk of hypoglycemia can be significant. Parents often ask whether bitter melon is safe for children with diabetes. While bitter melon is used traditionally in some cultures for children, there isn't adequate research on its safety and effectiveness in pediatric populations. Given that children's nutritional needs and medication dosing are different from adults, I would recommend consulting with a pediatric endocrinologist before considering bitter melon for any child with diabetes. People frequently ask about the best time of day to consume bitter melon. While it can be effective at any time, many people find it most beneficial when consumed with their largest meal of the day or the meal that typically causes their highest blood sugar spike. For some people, this is breakfast. For others, it's lunch or dinner. The key is consistency and timing it with carbohydrate-containing meals. Another question I hear often is whether bitter melon loses its effectiveness over time. Some people worry that their body will become accustomed to it and it will stop working. While individual responses can vary, most people maintain the blood sugar benefits of bitter melon as long as they continue using it consistently. However, if you notice diminishing effects, taking a short break and then resuming may help restore sensitivity. People also ask whether they can consume bitter melon if they're following specific diets like ketogenic or low-carb diets. Bitter melon is relatively low in carbohydrates, containing about 4 grams of carbs per cup, so it can generally be incorporated into most eating plans. In fact, it may be particularly beneficial for people following low-carb diets who want to have occasional higher-carb meals, as it can help minimize the blood sugar impact. Now, let me share some advanced strategies for maximizing bitter melon's effectiveness. One technique that some of my patients have found helpful is called carb cycling with bitter melon. This involves consuming bitter melon primarily on days when you plan to eat more carbohydrates, such as social occasions or special meals. This allows you to enjoy foods you love while minimizing their impact on your blood sugar. Another advanced strategy is combining bitter melon with intermittent fasting. Some research suggests that intermittent fasting can improve insulin sensitivity, and when combined with bitter melon's glucose-lowering effects, the results can be particularly powerful. However, this combination requires careful monitoring, as the risk of hypoglycemia may be increased. For people who are very sensitive to bitter melon's effects, microdosing can be an effective approach. This involves consuming very small amounts of bitter melon throughout the day rather than larger portions with meals. For example, you might add a tablespoon of bitter melon to each meal rather than consuming a half cup with one meal. Some people find that fermenting bitter melon can make it more palatable while potentially increasing its beneficial properties. Fermented bitter melon, similar to kimchi or sauerkraut, can be easier to digest and may provide additional probiotic benefits that support overall metabolic health. Temperature can also affect how your body responds to bitter melon. Some people find that consuming it warm or hot is more effective than eating it cold, possibly because heat helps release more of the active compounds. Others prefer it at room temperature or even cold, finding it more palatable that way. The pH of your stomach when you consume bitter melon may also influence its effectiveness. Taking bitter melon with a small amount of something acidic, like lemon juice or apple cider vinegar, might help optimize the absorption of its active compounds. Let me also discuss how to track your progress effectively when using bitter melon. Beyond just monitoring blood sugar numbers, pay attention to other indicators of improved glucose control. These might include increased energy levels, reduced sugar cravings, better sleep quality, improved mood stability, and fewer episodes of feeling shaky or lightheaded between meals. Keep a detailed log not just of your blood sugar readings, but also of how you feel, your energy levels throughout the day, your sleep quality, and any changes in your appetite or cravings. This holistic picture can help you understand the full impact of bitter melon on your health and can provide valuable information to share with your healthcare provider. Some people find it helpful to take progress photos and body measurements, as improved blood sugar control often leads to changes in body composition, with reduced belly fat and increased muscle definition. While weight loss isn't the primary goal, many people do experience gradual, sustainable weight loss as their blood sugar becomes more stable. It's also worth tracking your medication needs over time. As your blood sugar control improves with bitter melon and other lifestyle interventions, your healthcare provider may be able to reduce your medication doses or eliminate some medications entirely. This should always be done under medical supervision, but it's an important marker of progress. Now, let me address the importance of individualizing your approach to bitter melon. While the general principles I've outlined apply to most people, everyone's body is unique, and what works best for one person may not be optimal for another. Some people are naturally more sensitive to bitter melon's effects and may need smaller portions or less frequent consumption. Others may need larger amounts or more frequent use to see significant benefits. Factors that can influence your individual response include your current level of insulin resistance, your body weight, your activity level, your stress levels, your sleep quality, and your genetic makeup. Your cultural background and dietary preferences also matter. If you come from a culture where bitter flavors are more common, you may adapt to bitter melon's taste more quickly. If you're used to sweeter flavors, it may take longer to appreciate bitter melon, but that doesn't mean it will be less effective once you adjust. Your current diet also influences how bitter melon works for you. If you're eating a lot of processed foods and refined carbohydrates, bitter melon may have more dramatic effects as it helps counteract some of the blood sugar chaos caused by these foods. If you're already eating a very clean, low-glycemic diet, the effects of bitter melon may be more subtle but still beneficial. Your lifestyle factors play a role too. If you're very active, you may find that you can tolerate larger amounts of bitter melon without experiencing hypoglycemia. If you're sedentary, you may need to be more cautious with dosing. Age is another factor. Older adults may be more sensitive to bitter melon's effects, both positive and negative. Starting with smaller amounts and increasing gradually is particularly important for people over 70. Let me share one more patient success story that illustrates the importance of individualization. James was a 58-year-old construction worker who had been diagnosed with prediabetes 5 years earlier. His job kept him very active, but his diet consisted mainly of fast food and convenience store meals due to his long work hours and frequent travel between job sites. James's morning glucose readings were consistently in the range of 110 to 130, and his A1C was 6.4, just at the threshold between prediabetes and diabetes. His doctor had recommended metformin, but James wanted to try natural approaches first. Because of James's high activity level and his relatively mild glucose elevation, I suggested a different approach to bitter melon than I typically recommend. Instead of consuming it with meals, James began adding small amounts of bitter melon to a protein smoothie that he drank mid-morning as a snack. This timing worked better with his irregular meal schedule, and the protein in the smoothie helped mask the bitter taste. James also began carrying bitter melon capsules with him for days when he couldn't prepare fresh bitter melon. On these days, he would take a capsule about 30 minutes before his largest meal of the day, which was usually dinner. Within 6 weeks, James's morning glucose readings had dropped to an average of 95, well within the normal range. His energy levels improved dramatically, and he found that he wasn't experiencing the mid-afternoon crashes that had been plaguing him for years. What made James's approach work was that it was tailored to his lifestyle. He couldn't follow a rigid meal schedule, but he could be consistent with his morning smoothie routine. He couldn't always prepare fresh bitter melon, but he could remember to take a capsule before dinner. This illustrates an important principle. The best natural health intervention is the one you can stick with long-term. It doesn't matter how theoretically perfect a protocol is if it doesn't fit with your real life. Now, let me discuss how bitter melon fits into the bigger picture of metabolic health and longevity. While we've focused primarily on blood sugar control, the benefits of stable glucose levels extend far beyond just preventing diabetes complications. Chronic high blood sugar contributes to a process called glycation, where excess glucose molecules bind to proteins throughout your body, forming harmful compounds called advanced glycation end products, or AGEs. These AGEs contribute to aging, inflammation, and the development of various chronic diseases including heart disease, kidney disease, and Alzheimer's disease. By helping to keep your blood sugar levels stable, bitter melon may help slow this glycation process and support healthier aging overall. Some people report that after incorporating bitter melon into their routine consistently, they notice improvements in their skin appearance, wound healing, and overall vitality. Stable blood sugar also supports better cognitive function. The brain relies heavily on glucose for energy, but it needs a steady, consistent supply rather than the wild fluctuations that come with poor blood sugar control. Many people find that bitter melon helps improve their mental clarity, focus, and memory. Better blood sugar control also supports cardiovascular health. Diabetes and prediabetes significantly increase the risk of heart disease and stroke, partly due to the damage that high blood sugar causes to blood vessels. By helping to normalize glucose levels, bitter melon may contribute to better heart health and reduced cardiovascular risk. The anti-inflammatory properties of bitter melon may also contribute to its benefits beyond blood sugar control. Chronic inflammation is now recognized as a key contributor to many age-related diseases, and natural anti-inflammatory compounds like those found in bitter melon may help support overall health and longevity. Now, let me address some practical considerations for incorporating bitter melon into your lifestyle long-term. One challenge that many people face is meal planning and preparation. Bitter melon doesn't keep as long as some other vegetables, so you'll need to plan your shopping and meal prep accordingly. One strategy is to prepare bitter melon in batches when you buy it fresh, then store it in meal-sized portions in the refrigerator or freezer. You can blanch and slice bitter melon, then freeze it in ice cube trays or small containers. This makes it easy to add to stir-fries, soups, or other dishes without having to prepare it fresh each time. Another approach is to incorporate bitter melon into dishes that you already make regularly. If you frequently make vegetable stir-fries, omelets, or soups, Bitter melon can easily be added to these familiar recipes without requiring you to learn entirely new cooking techniques. For people with busy schedules, bitter melon tea can be a convenient option. You can prepare a larger batch of bitter melon tea and store it in the refrigerator for several days, drinking a small glass before your main meals. Meal timing becomes important when you're using bitter melon strategically for blood sugar control. If you're used to eating irregularly or skipping meals, you may need to become more consistent with your eating schedule to maximize bitter melon's benefits. This actually often leads to improved overall nutrition habits. Many of my patients find that when they start paying attention to meal timing for blood sugar control, they naturally begin eating more regularly and making better food choices overall. Social situations can present challenges when you're trying to incorporate bitter melon into your routine. If you're going to a restaurant or eating at someone's home, you obviously can't always control whether bitter melon is available. In these situations, you can take a bitter melon capsule beforehand, or you can be more selective about what you eat, choosing lower glycemic options when possible. Some people find it helpful to eat a small amount of bitter melon at home before going out to eat. This can help provide some blood sugar protection even if you end up eating foods that would normally cause glucose spikes. Travel can also disrupt your bitter melon routine. Bitter melon capsules or powder can be easier to travel with than fresh bitter melon. You can also research local markets at your destination to see if fresh bitter melon might be available. Let me also discuss the economic aspects of incorporating bitter melon into your health routine. One of the advantages of natural approaches like bitter melon is that they're generally much less expensive than pharmaceutical interventions. A week's worth of fresh bitter melon typically costs less than a single dose of some diabetes medications. Even high-quality bitter melon supplements are usually much less expensive than prescription drugs. Over time, if bitter melon helps you reduce your need for medications or prevents progression to more advanced diabetes, the cost savings can be substantial. However, there may be some initial costs involved in experimenting with different preparation methods or purchasing kitchen equipment that makes bitter melon preparation easier. A good vegetable steamer, high-quality knife, or juicer might be worthwhile investments if they help you stick with your bitter melon routine. It's also worth considering the potential cost savings from improved health overall. Better blood sugar control can reduce your risk of expensive complications like heart disease, kidney problems, nerve damage, and vision issues. The money you invest in natural health approaches like bitter melon may save you much more in healthcare costs down the road. Now, let me discuss how to work with your healthcare provider when incorporating bitter melon into your diabetes management plan. Many doctors are unfamiliar with bitter melon, so you may need to educate them about what you're doing and why. Bring printed copies of some of the research studies on bitter melon to share with your doctor. This shows that you're taking a serious, evidence-based approach rather than just following random internet advice. Be prepared to explain how you plan to use bitter melon and how you'll monitor its effects. Be honest about your experience with conventional treatments. If you're struggling with medication side effects, poor blood sugar control despite following medical advice, or other issues, explain these challenges to your doctor. Many physicians are more open to natural approaches when they understand that conventional treatments aren't working well for a particular patient. Ask your doctor to help you develop a monitoring plan. Most physicians will be supportive of natural approaches as long as you're monitoring your blood sugar carefully and staying in regular contact about your progress. Don't present bitter melon as an either-or choice. Instead, frame it as something you'd like to add to your current treatment plan to potentially improve your results. Most doctors are more comfortable with adding natural therapies than with replacing established treatments. Be patient if your doctor needs time to research bitter melon or consult with colleagues. Not all physicians are familiar with natural therapies, but many are willing to learn if their patients approach the topic respectfully and provide good information. Consider seeking out a healthcare provider who is knowledgeable about integrative or functional medicine if your current doctor is not supportive of natural approaches. These practitioners often have more experience with natural therapies and may be better equipped to help you safely incorporate bitter melon into your health plan. Now, let me share some final thoughts about the broader implications of taking control of your health with natural approaches like bitter melon. When you start actively managing your blood sugar with natural methods, you're not just addressing one health issue, you're taking a proactive approach to your overall well-being. This mindset shift can be transformational. Instead of feeling like a passive victim of a chronic disease, you become an active participant in your health journey. You start paying attention to how different foods affect your body, how lifestyle factors influence your well-being, and how small daily choices can have profound long-term effects. Many people find that success with natural blood sugar management motivates them to make other positive changes in their lives. They may start exercising more regularly, prioritizing sleep, managing stress better, or improving other aspects of their diet. This holistic approach to health often leads to improvements that go far beyond just better blood sugar numbers. People report feeling more energetic, sleeping better, having better mood stability, experiencing fewer aches and pains, and generally feeling more like their younger selves. There's also something empowering about using food as medicine. When you eat bitter melon and then see your blood sugar readings improve, you're reminded that your body has incredible self-healing capabilities when given the right support. This doesn't mean that modern medicine isn't valuable, it absolutely is, and medications can be life-saving for many people. But there's room for both approaches, and often the combination of natural and conventional therapies is more effective than either approach alone. Let me also address the importance of patience and persistence when using natural approaches like bitter melon. Unlike medications that often work immediately, natural therapies typically require consistent use over weeks or months to show their full benefits. Don't get discouraged if you don't see dramatic changes in your first few days or even weeks of using bitter melon. Some people notice improvements within a few days, while others need several weeks of consistent use before they see significant changes in their blood sugar patterns. Keep in mind that you're not just working to improve your blood sugar numbers, you're working to improve your overall metabolic health, which is a more complex and gradual process. The changes happening in your body may not always be immediately visible in your glucose readings, but they're still valuable. Also remember that natural approaches work best when combined with other healthy lifestyle practices. Bitter melon alone may not be enough to completely normalize your blood sugar if you're also eating a poor diet, living a sedentary lifestyle, not getting enough sleep, and experiencing chronic stress. Think of bitter melon as one powerful tool in your toolkit for health, but not the only tool. The more healthy practices you can incorporate into your life, the better your results will be. Finally, let me emphasize the importance of hope and optimism in your health journey. Type 2 diabetes and prediabetes can feel overwhelming and discouraging, especially when you're told that these conditions are progressive and irreversible. But the truth is that many people have successfully reversed prediabetes and dramatically improved their type 2 diabetes through natural approaches combined with appropriate medical care. Your body has remarkable healing capabilities, and with the right support, significant improvements are possible at any age. Bitter melon represents hope that there are natural solutions to health challenges, hope that you can take an active role in your healing, and hope that better health is possible regardless of your current situation. I've seen hundreds of patients transform their health using approaches like the one I've outlined today. Some have been able to eliminate their diabetes medications entirely under medical supervision. Others have reduced their medication needs significantly while feeling better than they have in years. Still others have prevented progression from prediabetes to full diabetes. Your results may be different, but the potential for improvement is real, and bitter melon could be a key component of your success story. As we conclude today's discussion, let me summarize the key points we've covered. Bitter melon, also known as Mamordica carrantia, is a vegetable with remarkable blood sugar-lowering properties that have been validated by scientific research. It works through multiple mechanisms including insulin-like effects, improved insulin sensitivity, reduced glucose absorption, and enhanced muscle glucose uptake. The most effective way to use bitter melon is to consume 1/2 to 1 cup of cooked bitter melon with meals, particularly those higher in carbohydrates, 3 to 5 times per week. Start with smaller amounts and gradually increase as your body adapts to both the taste and the effects. Monitor your blood sugar carefully, especially if you're taking diabetes medications, as bitter melon can be so effective that it may cause hypoglycemia if not used appropriately. Work with your healthcare provider to adjust medications as needed. Be patient and persistent. Natural approaches like bitter melon work best when used consistently over time as part of a comprehensive approach that includes appropriate medical care, good nutrition, regular physical activity, adequate sleep, and stress management. Remember that bitter melon is a tool, not a magic cure. It can be incredibly effective, but it works best when integrated into an overall healthy lifestyle rather than used in isolation. Most importantly, don't lose hope. Regardless of how long you've been dealing with blood sugar issues, regardless of your age, and regardless of what you've been told about your prognosis, significant improvements are possible when you take an active, informed approach to your health. The journey to better blood sugar control and improved health starts with a single step. For many people, that step is deciding to try bitter melon. For others, it might be committing to regular blood sugar monitoring, starting a walking program, or simply believing that better health is possible. Whatever your first step is, take it today. Your future self will thank you for having the courage to try something new and the commitment to stick with it long enough to see results. The power to transform your health is in your hands, and bitter melon might just be the key that unlocks that transformation. Start your 14-day trial today. Monitor your results carefully, and prepare to be amazed at what this humble vegetable can do for your blood sugar and your overall health. But don't stop here. This vegetable is just one piece of the puzzle. Tomorrow, I want you to watch my next video where I'll reveal a powerful nighttime tea that can help flush excess blood sugar from your system while you sleep. When you combine the strategies from today's video with tomorrow's nighttime protocol, you'll have a comprehensive, around-the-clock approach to blood sugar management that can deliver results you may have thought were impossible. The title of tomorrow's video is, As an Endocrinologist Doctor, I'm Shocked. This powerful tea flushes out blood sugar overnight. Make sure to watch it immediately after this one, because the combination of these two natural approaches can be truly life-changing. Your journey to better health starts now. Take that first step today and keep moving forward. Better blood sugar control, increased energy, improved health, and a more vibrant life are all within your reach. You just need to reach out and take them. Thank you for spending this time with me today, and I'll see you in the next video where we'll continue building your natural blood sugar management toolkit. Remember, you have the power to change your health story, and it starts today with bitter melon.